organizational development. In the organizational development, what the research says is that there's 3 parts to organizational development. There's the political, there is the public, and there's the internal. From a political perspective, what do you think is important to a politician about your program? Anybody? What kind of results? Who said that? What kind of results it has? And why is that important to them? What do politicians care about? Money. They want to know if your results work because they care about the money. Absolutely. I'll tell you what we have done historically that has been a problem. We've gone to senators and county commissioners and you name it, funding sources forever, and said, our programs are too full, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough staff, and guess where that got us? Nowhere. Nowhere. And that's kind of been our history. We've said our woes and woes, and what we didn't realize is we weren't thinking about how to embrace our stakeholders. So my first point here is that effective programs understand this whole idea behind organizational development. They understand that the first component of organizational development is this political component, and that you need to know what's important to the politicians. You need to understand the money. You need to understand how it affects in terms of outcomes, why it should make a difference to them. Good programs understand that concept. The second is this idea about the general public. Organizational development says it's important that the general public has an understanding. What do you think the general public cares about in relationship to your program? Come on, if you're the public, what do you care about when you hear something in the news about somebody committing an offense or crime or whatever the case may be? Kim?
Well, I think the general public wants to feel they live in a safe community and they want to know that there's accountability and that's that.
Thank you. Perfect. Perfect. The general public wants to know, am I safe? Am I going to get paid back? And are they going to be held accountable? So when we talk to the general public about our programs, guess what we have to talk about? Are they safe? Will they be held accountable? And will they get their money back? An important concept to kind of understand. And one of the things that we have done so poorly in juvenile justice and in criminal justice is to sell ourselves. We are constantly struggling for dollars. We are not very good at marketing. And what this whole idea behind evidence-based practice is, guess what, folks? Get good at marketing. Understand who you're talking to and understand what you should be talking to them about. The third piece of organizational development is this internal piece. How many of you in this room actually run the program? And so how many of you, likewise then, kind of are an employee of a program, but not a director or supervisor or whatever? So about half and half. For those of you who are directors or supervisors of a program, have you ever had an employee who was not on the same page as you were? Yes? As an employee, have you ever worked for a boss that you weren't exactly sure what it is that they wanted? Yes. Yeah, lots of giggles on that one. Listen closely, directors. Lots of giggles on that one. Well, what this is saying about effective programming is saying if you're not on the same page, you are not going to be an effective program. It is critical that you have internally cohesiveness. Just amongst your own program. Make sure that you know what it is that you're out for, what you believe in, what's important to you. This particular picture is a picture that was created by Mark Moore, and it's the idea about creating value. I can tell you, in this day and age, if you are unable to demonstrate value in your program will not be around for very long. You may have gotten by with it in the past, but you won't get by with it in the future. Times are changing. Programs are being held to a higher accountability. Politicians want to know if it's worth the money we're investing. So if you're unable to demonstrate value, you're going to have difficulty sustaining your program. So this idea about public value is incredibly important. Up here I've listed 3 different entities: the U.S. Postal Service, fire departments, and dry cleaners. What happened over time to reduce the value of any of these services? Let's kind of start with the U.S. Postal Service. What changed in their world that changed their value? Pardon me? Technology. What else changed? That's probably the biggie in terms of email and things to that nature. Okay. What else changed, though? Pardon me? Funding to some degree. Competition to a large degree. Tell me what you're thinking when you say competition. FedEx. The competition became more and more aggressive and more friendly to the consumer. What happened to the value of the U.S. Postal Service? It's gone down dramatically. How many of you still send letters with stamps? Maybe a few. You know, cards, good old-fashioned, when they don't let you pay it by online, you know, things to that nature. What has the Postal Service done recently to try and improve their value again? What do you see them doing? Downsizing. Yeah, that's kind of, they're happy because they're losing so much money, but that's a good example. They're trying to downsize. But how have they tried to increase their value to you? Advertising. It's a good one.
Accessible, like they're now in your grocery store or other places.
Accessibility. They're making it a lot easier. You can now print stamps online. They'll come to your house and pick up your packages. So my point is that while they were behind the curve, you see a clear demonstration of how their value went down and how hard it's been for them to move their value back up. From an evidence-based principle kind of perspective, if they would have understood organizational development and the concept of maintaining value, you might not have seen that. They would have stayed competitive. They would have stayed innovative. How about fire departments? Now that's one where we say, wait a minute, we really value fire departments, but how has fire departments' value changed? Anybody? How about the fact that now all of our homes are safer? Mandatory alarm systems. The frequency of fires have gone down dramatically because of the alarm systems that we have, or the better technology that we have, or things to that nature. The frequency of just fires in general have gone down. So what have they done to maintain their value? What kind of roles have they taken on? Education, prevention, big time. Safe houses. They're a safe house for domestic violence. So my point again is demonstrating this change in value. And last but not least is this idea of dry cleaners. Dry cleaners value. How many people still go to dry cleaners? Not. Oh, okay, a couple of people might raise their hands. I mean, that has changed dramatically. And what they have done to try and maintain value is everything between coupons that we'll pick it up at your house and we'll deliver it and so on. Or marketing to the fact that you don't have time to do your own laundry. Let us do it for you. My point is, my lecture, so to speak, on organizational value goes across all systems. It's not just us. And so this whole idea of understanding organizational value is important. So the first takeaway from today's lesson is successful programs create value politically, publicly, and internally.